Here's how I scaled my Airbnb business to over $200,000 in a span of 3 years. If you are an existing subscriber, come in, sit down, pop a squat, take some notes, and let's actually talk. If you are a new subscriber, please do not forget to actually hit the subscribe button. My name is Precious. I am a longtime entrepreneur, marketing strategist, in addition to just a consultant, helping other people learn how to start as well as scale their various businesses, whether service-based or product-based. So I started renting spaces on Airbnb, Furnished Finder, Booking.com way back in 2017. And honestly, I really just started where I was. And at that point, I had moved down to Atlanta and really began to pick things up around 2019 and scaling it to numerous properties. I ended up getting a house, corporate leases downtown in Atlanta, numerous of those, in addition to finally going ahead and building a tiny house and also placing that on a short-term rental platform as well. So I say all of that to say, I have a bit of experience within this game, and I've done Airbnb and short-term rentals. Every single way that you can think about doing short-term rentals, I have done. So there were a couple of things that I learned, lessons learned, in addition to just like reflections that I had that allowed me to get to the point of scaling my short-term rental business beyond six figures, right? Beyond $100,000, nearing $200,000 before I officially decided to walk away from the business, which we will talk about in another video. However, looking at these reasons on how I was able to really scale my business, number one, this quickly, but number two, to the magnitude that I had done it in one city at that. Number one, I did not look at my business as just a Airbnb business. And I feel like many times when people are looking to get started with renting spaces, they say, oh, well, I'm thinking about starting an Airbnb business. Understand that Airbnb is just one platform that allows you the opportunity to rent your space, right? And of course, many of us know it. I feel like it is really the granddaddy of short-term rental platforms, but there are others out here, and you need to be looking at that business, this business that you are starting up, if you desire to, or if you already have it and you're scaling. You must look at it as a short-term rental business and not just an Airbnb business, because you need to think about it like this. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. Let's say something happens, right? And you've been listing your space and something now happens to where you don't have access to that profile on Airbnb. What are you going to do? Do you have a direct booking platform? Do you have your space listed on other platforms and it's already up and ready to go and you can just open those calendars? That is what really allowed me to go beyond that point of just making a little bit of extra cash to really making enough money where I was able to actually quit my job off of this. So look at it as a short-term rental business and not just an Airbnb business. Airbnb is just one of the platforms that allow you to market your business, your unit, your rental to your prospects and potential guests. Number two, you actually need to be treating the business like a business. I was so surprised when I came into things and I saw so many people that it was really just a matter of like, all right, they're oversimplifying the process. You get a unit, find somewhere where you can Airbnb, throw some furniture in there from Walmart, and then call it a day. If you really want to succeed and make real money, right? This is not just a side hustle, or you don't want it to be just a side hustle, and you don't just want to make side hustle money with this, then you must take it seriously and actually treat it like a business. Number one, view it as a short-term rental business, but number two, actually treat it like a business. So what does treating it like a business mean? Number one, you have systems in place. You're not just doing all of this, number one, alone, but even furthermore, manually. You have various automations whether that is with your communication with guests, them actually being able to check in, you actually, checking up on how their stay is going, all of these various aspects, but having systems in place allows you to really furthermore treat it like a business to where it isn't taking over as much of your time. And more than that, when you're treating it like a business, there are various aspects that you really need to hone in on and know before you just dive headfirst into this. Number one is marketing. And as someone who is a marketing strategist, right, my business, my background is all marketing and it runs and pumps through my blood. The most frustrating thing that I would hear is people say, well, who's the target market for your Airbnb listing? Who's the target market for your rental? And they would just say anybody, like anyone under the sun. It doesn't matter because it's a great location. And the number one rule of marketing is understanding that when you are for everybody, essentially you are for nobody. Right? And even if you look at examples on these platforms, even if, they've set their listing up in a way where you cannot necessarily tell that they have a niche, they have an audience that they're targeting, you can still infer by the amenities that they have in the unit, by the way that they talk about things, even furthermore, the way that they might lay out the listing and lay out the rules. So it's super important for you to actually have a niche within this business, right? You can't just say that, okay, well, I'm targeting anybody. And I don't say all of this to say that you have to stick with just one niche. And it's understanding that success in any business actually requires you to focus. So you don't need to choose one niche and stick with that for years and years upon years, but at the very least, have your niche change with the seasons maybe, right? Like if you're near an amusement park or a water park or something, in the summers, you might be targeting more families and, people with kids. And then that might shift in the wintertime, but actually knowing who you are focusing on is going to be crucial for the success of your business. Number 3, I actually nurtured relationships. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that in real estate in general, right? Like real estate is relationships. And when you are in the short-term rental business, you are in the real estate industry and it is still a relationships business. So ensuring that you're nurturing the relationships with property managers, real estate investors, even your potential clients and guests, right? And this is something that I was really, really good at. I made sure that at the very least, I might have even gotten like their email addresses to keep in touch, to check in, because these are the very people that are going to become, repeat either opportunities or repeat customers and guests. So if you're looking at the guest, you have no idea how many of my bookings they booked initially on the Airbnb platform, but once they got there, they saw the service that we provided, and they were able to actually provide us with their contact information. Thereafter, they then went and booked directly through our website, which again is another piece of treating it like a business. I actually had a website for my listings where I hosted that and people could book directly and they can just find it via like Google SEO. But regardless, when you nurture these relationships, it then allows you to, more easily scale, because these real estate investors, right? If you are going the arbitrage route where you might be talking to a landlord and you're re-renting their property with their permission, they may have more properties that they see how you move, they see how you run your business, and they want you to do that yet again. Or even furthermore, these property managers at apartment complexes, condos, etc., you build a relationship with them and they may know other properties and other apartment complexes that may allow the same type of thing in terms of short-term rentals. So it's very important for you to nurture those relationships that you have within this business. And even furthermore, right, moving on to number 4, you need to be conscious of how and when you are scaling. And that was a piece that was very, very big for me. For me, I used almost what I would call like the snowball method, right? Where I really started out where I was. I started out by maybe, I believe, renting my couch. And then I went on and I was staying at friends and I rented my entire apartment, during the weekends. And then I had a job and a career where I was working in consulting and I'm flying every single day, every week to different cities and I'm never home. And now I'm renting the entire space. And I used the income from that to then buy my first property, where I then rented that property out entirely, use the income from the property to then build the tiny house and use that income to then get the corporate leases. And you get what I'm saying, right? So you need to be conscious of how and when you are scaling, because it is very possible to scale too quickly into this business. Get used to it first. Get your feet wet. Get your first listing, I would say, nearly on autopilot. Get it to a point where you feel like it's very successful, you're consistently getting reviews, and then only at that point do you then go on and say, okay, I want another unit, I want to scale, I want more, or even getting units in a different city, because that's sometimes how people scale as well. Me personally, I decided to focus my efforts in the city of Atlanta. And finally, just start. That is literally how I was able to scale to the point of success that I did. I just started. I did not overthink it. And I know this might be a little hard, right? Especially now, because So many complexes have been cracking down on short-term renting and Airbnb and all of these different facets due to the current state of our real estate market. And that totally makes sense. But think about whether or not you are able to house hack to then start to garner some of that cash flow that can then be used to start this short-term rental business. These are the various pieces that you need to be thinking about rather than overthinking it and maybe feeling like you might need to hire somebody first, or first I need to build, my business credit, or first I need to do that. Really, the main piece that differentiated me from everyone else was that I literally just decided to start. And I always encourage people to start where you are. If you have an extra bedroom, if you have a basement, if you are just able to rent out to a friend, that is going to be your foot into the real estate market. Because my hope, honestly, as well, is that short-term rentals is just an avenue for you to enter into the real estate industry. And then from there, it snowballs into you possibly becoming a small-scale developer, possibly, building a duplex or a quadplex for yourself, becoming a real estate investor, whatever it is. My hope is that it's just a foot in so that you can gain the proper cash flow at the beginning to then do something even more impactful that can make you even more money and provide you even more stability. So those are all of the ways that I was able to go ahead and scale that business to a point of $200,000. And if you want to see receipts, feel free to go ahead, follow the Airbnb Money account on Instagram. I did do a revamp of that, but you're able to go back on all of my videos as well on YouTube and kind of see what that experience was like. Again, even furthermore, for the people that started to actually work with me on building their businesses. Now, here's the kicker. As of about a year and a half ago, I no longer am a short-term rental host. I walked away from hosting, and we will talk about that. And once I have that video, I will post it here in a clip. But I no longer host on Airbnb. And there are a couple of reasons for that, but it provided me the avenue to now do what I am doing now. And again, I had that extra cash flow to play with. So if you're someone who you're wanting to go ahead and get started, check out the resources that I already have. Take what you need, leave what doesn't apply anymore. But it's super important, again, for you to just understand how to look at and frame and build and start and manage and optimize your short-term rental business. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, if you are already in Airbnb, what city are you in? And of course, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. All right, bye.